Close your eyes and build this image in your minds. A sunny summer day at the Nürburgring racetrack in Germany. You're driving a red Ferrari around one of the many tight bends and gaining on a Porsche. The world's finest track with amazing machines, a rush of adrenaline takes you over as you are seated in the plush leather interior of the car. Speed increasing steadily out of the bend, both cars almost fly down the straight. Engines roaring, exhaust rattling, your excitement is at an all-time high. This image is wonderful to all car enthusiasts. But are these mighty and powerful engines worth the damage they do to our beloved planet? Transportation is responsible for 21% of global carbon dioxide production, of which 3/4 is from road travel. This means these beloved machines, called cars, account for 15% of global CO2 production. As a car enthusiast myself, I will definitely miss the roar of a V8 and the crackle of a sports exhaust, but as a human, I understand that life in the present and the future is way more important. It is time we act on a human duty to protect the environment and look at alternatives. To mitigate the effects of climate change and essentially save the environment, we need a system that can power cars while not emitting any toxic gases. So, what are these alternatives? What can we do to the car that could revolutionize transportation in the future while reducing our ecological footprint? There are two answers to this question. The first one being electric vehicles, also known as EVs, and the second one being fuel cell vehicles. Electric cars are very relevant in the news and society right now, but fuel cell has the chance of being the actual and ultimate future of the automobile. But let's begin with electric vehicles. Who hasn't heard of electric cars these days? But how does it work? Well, electric cars are actually quite simple machines. With a battery at the core powering electric motors, the system needs no other external fuel other than, of course, electricity. Fuel cell, on the other hand, requires hydrogen instead of direct electricity. You are required to fill a tank with liquefied hydrogen, which then travels down to something called the fuel cell stack. This is the main instrument of the system. In simple terms, the fuel cell stack takes hydrogen and oxygen, combines the two elements to create electricity and water. The water is then disposed of, but the electricity goes to a battery, which in turn powers electric motors. Essentially, fuel cell vehicles are electric, but they generate their own electricity instead of having to be charged. Now that you know how these systems work, what are the benefits and downsides to both options? Let's begin with electric cars again. Apart from the main benefit of an electric vehicle, which I mentioned before, electric cars are also really quick. EVs promise a new era in performance. Due to the simple fact that an electric motor is able to give 100% of its torque at any given moment, opposed to an engine having to build it up, it is able to accelerate at insane speeds. For example, a Tesla Model S, which weighs 2.2 tons, can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 2 seconds. A Lamborghini Aventador does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 2.8 seconds. In fact, the record time for a quarter-mile drag race is now 8.6 seconds, which was silently set by an electric performance car called the Rimac Nevera. Like I mentioned before, fuel cells also have motors, which means it too will share this same performance boost. Now, to highlight fuel cells' advantages, I think it is best to discuss EV's downsides. Firstly, range. Let's say you wanted to go on a road trip from Toronto, Canada to Miami, Florida, and let's say you also own a Toyota Corolla. This nice family road trip is just over 2,000 kilometers, and because your Toyota has a range of almost 1,000 kilometers, theoretically, you would only need to stop twice for gas. Now let's look at this road trip from the electric car perspective. This time, you are in a $40,000 Tesla Model 3, which is double the price of the Corolla. And it also has a range of only 400 kilometers. Significantly less, right? Especially considering the price. But hey, what's the problem? It's just a few extra stops to save the environment. Well, yes. But what about the fact that you have to wait almost an hour for your car to recharge every 400 kilometers? This is where fuel cell proves to be the ultimate alternative. Being essentially electric, one full charge will have the same range as an EV, but because it has enough hydrogen to recharge the battery on the fly, the range can be double or triple that of an electric vehicle. Plus, refilling hydrogen is almost like refilling gasoline. All you have to do is fill the tank and you're out in a few minutes. Now let's talk about what car companies are doing about this climate problem. Like I mentioned before, right now electric cars are dominating the alternative market, with Tesla being all electric, Mercedes-Benz moving towards all electric by 2030, and almost all other brands launching electric models. But two companies that are following the road less taken by investing in fuel cell are Toyota and Hyundai. But why aren't all car companies investing in fuel cell if it is clearly the better option? Well, at the end of the day, it is a business, and everyone wants to make money. No one wants to miss out on the electric car hype. Therefore, they are all moving towards electric. It makes their brand look greener, and they can pocket some extra money by entering new markets with demand. Hydrogen fuel cell will take many more years to properly develop due to these three main issues: hydrogen availability, price, and infrastructure. Let's begin with hydrogen availability. Well, where will it come from? Hydrogen might be the most abundant element on Earth, but it is almost never found as a standalone element. This means there is a need for new technologies to quickly and efficiently extract hydrogen for mass use in cars. The great thing, however, is the number of places this extraction could happen from. Hydrogen can be found in water, biofuels, renewables, and even fossil fuels. This will be expensive, but could prove to be worth it in the end. Secondly, let's talk about price. Like electric cars, because they are new to the market, fuel cell vehicles will be expensive. For example, Toyota's Mirai will go for sale at a price of $58,000. But these prices will inevitably go down as time passes. But entering a market with an average sedan at the same price of a luxury saloon is an obstacle most auto manufacturers do not want to face right now, especially with the hype around electric vehicles. The third problem is infrastructure. Gas stations are everywhere, and for fuel cell to become the norm, there needs to be as many hydrogen stations. This will cost billions and trillions of dollars, but again, is the cost to save the environment. To sum it up, both systems are viable options with their own set of pros and cons. But in the end, the future of the automobile is in the hands of the auto manufacturers, and whether they choose electric or fuel cell, it will be for the greater good of our beloved planet.